and welcome back to my channel. Today's build video is all about this reclaimed oak and Glasscast 50 epoxy resin tabletop. I like it. In fact, I really like it. Again, I got this piece of oak from the guys at Reclaimed Timber Liverpool, so thank you to them. I believe they have just moved premises from Bickerstaff over the water to Wallasey. So good luck, guys, in that venture. I hope it goes really well for you. I will be over there again shortly. It's kind of part two, really. I put out a video last week with the reclaimed spalted beech legs. So this was the actual tabletop for it. So I do hope you enjoy the build project. It's probably, in terms of stuff for the house, the one I've been most satisfied with out of all the ones I've done for my channel. So I'm also hoping to get another video out this weekend to try and stimulate the minds of the maker folk out there. So more to follow. Take care, stay safe you lot, and I'll see you soon. Thank you. If you are new to doing a resin table or thinking of doing something like this for the first time, it's really important not to overlook this bit. I'm using a palm belt sander here from Triton that I got at Makers Central last year, and a very blunt chisel. I'm just removing all the loose debris, using, like, it doesn't have to be too fine, sort of 80 grit, something like that, and then I'm using a random orbital sander at about, I think it was 80 grit. Just so you can get, the resin will get a nice fix against the wood. So any loose chippings or anything like that, and you're not going to get a good bond and a good mix in between the two. And this is a really great idea I pinched from Andy at Manor Wood, particularly with it being so cold recently. If you warm the resin up in a bucket of warm water before you start to use it, it makes it so much easier, and it is a fantastic cheat for helping getting rid of the air bubbles. Now, I'm not spending too much time on this one, but I have a separate video on how I make polypropylene moulds for any resin projects that I've done, so I'll leave a link in the description for that. But yeah, I'm just answering the question there, can you cut polypropylene on a table saw? And the answer is yes. Using my digital scales outside on an offcut of OSB. Just please make sure you follow the rules. I've said it many times before, to the letter, in terms of the mix ratios, because Glasscast 50 is different to Glasscast 3, so make sure you double check. All of the tinting pigments and the dyes and any of the resin related stuff, if you're interested in any of this, I'll leave a link in the description down below. Now this is another technique I use. Some resin folk are pro this and some are against it. It's just I'm painting on some of the resin to the actual side of the wood just to form a seal so we don't get as many air bubbles, potential air bubbles anyway. Now this is the second mix of Glasscast 50. As you can see, the actual colouring is quite a bit deeper. I'd allowed the bottom part to cure to the B stage first. If you don't know what the B stage is, it is basically if you put your thumbnail onto it and it will still make an indentation into the resin, then it hasn't fully cured, so you can apply the next layer when necessary. As I was allowing the resin to cure slightly, it allowed me to put a few little marks and decorations, if you like, swirls, etc., into the resin before it starts to harden and fully cure. Now for this project, I didn't actually take the Glasscast 50 right up to the top of the table. I decided I was going to use Glasscast 3 for the actual top 3-4 mil. Two reasons why I did this. I was running a bit low on Glasscast 50 and I didn't know whether I was going to have enough. But secondly, doing this technique, it allows me to then use some different colours. So I'm using a blue in the middle for some kind of like water lagoon type feature. And then I can also apply the Glasscast 3 over the top of the green resin either side. It can be left and you don't actually have to polish it with Glasscast 3, but I decided I was going to sand and polish it down on this project. In regards to the timing issue of this, the green part of the resin here was still at the B stage, and that was 36 hours after I'd actually poured it. So I didn't need to score it or anything to put the Glasscast 3 over the top. And it was, what some other people have asked in the past is if you do need to score it or sand it down before you apply a second application, it doesn't actually, it remains clear once you've put the actual second application on, so it won't look like a rough sanding marks. The monumental task of sanding and polishing now commences. Now this, unfortunately, is the last you'll see of my Mercaderos sander, but that is another story for another video. In regards to sanding everything, I use both wood and resin at, I start at 120 grit and then I go to 240 and I will sand everything up to 400. It's really important as well. I've got here a microfiber cloth which has got a little bit of white spirit on it to regularly wipe it down. Otherwise the little fine resin dust will actually scratch into the resin itself. Now once I've got wood and resin sanded up to 400 grit, it's time to get some finish onto it across both surfaces. Now if you have watched my previous videos, you will know that my go-to product is the Heidelberg Prolignum, the hard wax oil, and I mix in a little bit of white spirit. Again, I will leave a link in the description to the guys down at Amicus UK, and get in touch with Robert and he will sort you out with some of the good stuff here. Now I do 2 applications on this project. I use 2 applications of it. You can apply this stuff with a brush, with a rag, or even with a roller. In this case I used a brush to get right into the grain, and I used a very fine sanding pad in between applications. I'll leave the hard wax oil to soak in for a little while and then come back with a lint-free cloth just to wipe off any excess. Leave the hard wax oil to fully cure overnight before returning for the finishing stage, which is the sanding and the polishing. Because the wood's actually protected now from the hard wax oil, I still sand over both surfaces. So I start back at 400 grit and then I go 800, 1500 and then finally 3000. And the final phase is to add the polishing compound over the top of everything. Again, I got this from the guys at Easy Composites at Glasscast Resin, and I'll leave a link in the description. You only need a tiny amount of this stuff, so it's just a couple of blobs over the top, and I managed to get a new polishing pad for my brand new random Orbital sander, which again is a different story for a different video, I think. Unfortunately the camera doesn't really do it justice, but I think you can actually see the reflection there of the trees just behind me. It really brought out an absolutely fantastic finish at the end. And that's pretty much it, I think. So if you did enjoy this video, then please think about giving it a thumbs up or even consider subscribing. Take care, and I'll see you soon.